Hola, bienvenidos. Welcome to the Good Expat Podcast. Here, you discover how to learn Spanish effectively, develop a confident mindset, and build meaningful relationship with the locals so you can embrace and enjoy your new life in Spain the right way. I'm your host, Coach Jaime, and this is what's coming up in today's episode.
You have to be able to accept that there is no shortcut in learning a language, so mistakes are part of the process. And if you are able to enjoy the process, try to think about your mistakes as a way of learning, not a way of stopping you from learning. I mean, this kind of mindset is great. It's the same when a child starts walking. They need to fall down before walk. There is no shortcut. It's impossible to start walking without falling down. It's the same. We are children.
Before today's episode, I'd like to invite you to my weekly Intro to Spanish workshop, where I'll show you how to learn Spanish and integrate in Spain while saving time, money, and effort. I want to guide you through my 6-step process that will help you choose the right way to learn Spanish for you, speed up your integration process by up to 55%, and avoid the 12 most common mistakes that I see expats often making in Spain. It's fun, it's interactive, and in just 60 minutes, you'll learn what would otherwise take you months to figure out on your own, even if you're already studying with a teacher. Would you like to join me live and 100% for free? Simply head over to ablaacademy.com/workshop. That's ablaacademy.com/workshop, or simply scan the QR code that you can see on your screen. And now, back to today's episode. David, welcome to the Habla Academy podcast. And you are bringing in today an amazing topic, something that I couldn't have wished for something any better than this. For our audience of student learners, or language learners rather, and experts trying to move to a new country. And the theme that you're bringing today is unlearning perfectionism, learning languages with mistakes. So welcome, David.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
What made you, why did you decide of this topic? What were you so passionate about this particular topic?
Well, I think that most of my students have this kind of issue because it's like they really want to improve their skills, their language skills, and I think that somehow trying to do it perfectly, it backfires. So I think that I have a lot of students with this kind of common pattern that they want to do it perfect. So first, we should define what is perfection, probably.
Mm-hmm. So please go ahead.
Well, I think that there is no definition for perfection. That's why it's so difficult to do something perfect, because there is no such a thing as perfection. That's why it backfires. So I think that is one of the main issues that some of my students may have with this kind of idea of doing something perfect. And if you apply to languages, it's even more evident, because what is speaking a language perfectly? I mean, it depends. I mean, variety could be something that is really, really great about languages. There are like different accents, different ways of saying the same. So I think that this enriches the language rather than make it worse.
I suppose if somebody was going to pursue that line of doing things or pursuing perfection, I think the first thing to do would be to define what perfection is for the individual, right? And then, if anything, we'll create that path towards achieving it, but at least you know where the destination is. But feeling that you're not good enough, or you're not doing things good enough. Well, for what? I guess it's very important to set up that end goal, no?
Yeah, totally agree with you. Yeah.
Right. So how do you normally recognize what are the symptoms of a perfectionist?
Okay. Well, usually it's not me. I mean, it's them who recognize it. So they have to think about what motivates them to learn a language and what is the aim of the language. Most of my students and my clients, the aim is to communicate. So when they think about what is the motivation to learn the language, I mean, the aim is to communicate, to do something else, probably to do presentations, to do networkings, to promote in their business. They start thinking why they haven't done it yet. And one of the things that they come up with is perfection. Like, because perfection means that you may have the wrong role model. So then it's like kind of a recipe for disaster. And then it helps you to set priorities. If you I mean, focus in the small details. You are not focusing on the big picture. That in this case may be like communicate, get your message across.
So you're saying that perfectionists tend to put their attention to little things that perhaps are not so relevant in the bigger scheme of things, right? They're perhaps the process, their development is hindered by getting that focus on the wrong thing, no?
Totally. Yeah.
All right. So what's your process if somebody, you identify a student, a client, or somebody self-identifies as a perfectionist? What's your process to help them with the journey?
Well, the first step is like, as we said, being aware of your perfectionism, where it comes from, and probably usually related to your educational background, where it was kind of punished when you made mistakes and it was never enough. So being aware of that is great because when you are aware, you shed light to the issue and you are more likely to tackle it. The second is like setting like realistic expectations. I mean, it's like some of the perfectionist type is like all or nothing. And at the end of the day, I understand that I want to speak perfect English, perfect Spanish. But even if there were such a thing as perfect Spanish or English, it will get time to get there. But what can we do in the meantime? So let's start working and talking and communicating until we reach the destination, if there were a destination. So it's this approach of, all right, I understand you. You need to validate people. If they want to speak like, I don't know, they want to speak like a Nadal in Spanish. Well, okay, you can understand them. Is their motivation, but it's not going to happen overnight. So we have to deal with the process, and the process implies making mistakes and implies also like hard work. So in the meantime, you need to communicate. So let's communicate something that is not our role model, something in between. And also choosing the right role model is important. Sometimes we focus on people. It's like I want to speak English like coming back to the metaphor or analogy of tennis. I want to speak English like Murray. Okay, great. I get it. But perhaps it's good that you focus on Nadal first because you are more likely to get this English level and you will be able to communicate. And I think that it's important that it's like be realistic with your expectations and step by step and priorities again. And I think that is very important, the message. So you need to help them to understand that the message is key here. So what they want to convey is their message. So English or Spanish is a tool to convey their message. So I think that is also really important. And after that, probably creating the right atmosphere, the right environment where people can connect and can learn. So basically, what you are doing is like they can rehearse the real scenario in a situation that is kind of under control. They feel safe in this situation. Then, when they will be exposed to the real situation, okay, they will probably have less stress. Mm-hmm. And finally, you have to be able to accept that there is no shortcut in learning a language. So mistakes part of the process. And if you are able to enjoy the process, try to think about your mistakes as a way of learning, not a way of stopping you from learning. I mean, this kind of mindset is great. It's the same when a child starts walking. I mean, they need to fall down before walk. There is no shortcut. It's impossible to start walking without falling down. So it's the same. We are children all the time. So learning something. And the last step could be like reflect in feedback. It's like sometimes feedback is just about mistakes. So we have to celebrate our achievements as well. It's not like giving like unrealistic feedbacks. But sorry, I really like to give feedback, realistic feedback. But again, based on priorities. If your priority is communicate, perhaps you are focusing too much on mistakes that are non-impeding mistakes in terms of communication. So let's celebrate our achievements. Let's see if we can communicate even though we are not doing as well as we want it. And then from this starting point, we can move forward.
Okay, so if I understood you well, you said that something very important in the process of working or fighting against perfectionism is actually having a role model, having somebody that you feel that you can sort of copy or sort of model your style, and make it somewhat relatable to your current level. Perhaps if you like you said, you use the example somebody who's a native speaker. Okay, well, let's use somebody who's not a native speaker, that speaks the language that I want, the target language. But I'm inspired. It's not perfect. It's not. I mean, there's a better level. Trying not to use the word perfect here. There's
Yeah.
a better level, but let's try to bring it down to something a bit more manageable, no? And then
Yeah.
through sort of specific practice with rehearsing and practice, you can get closer and get comfortable around that particular level that you develop. You said that they're not shortcuts, and that we need to obviously embrace the mistakes as part of the process, and that at some point during the whole learning journey there needs to be a moment, a section, some time for reflection, feedback, and celebrating the achievements, no?
Totally.
Is
I
there
agree.
any, do you do any, or do you recommend any mindset work? Is there, because this seems very practical, something that, perhaps a language coach can prepare for a student and a client, but what sort of mindset activity or advice do you normally give for students? Because on the one hand you can say, yeah, of course, don't worry too much, or don't, which is kind of a very big advice to give somebody. I wonder, what is it, how do you help your clients and students with that process?
Yes, I think that you're right. I mean, we cannot play down people's feelings, and I think that everybody has like a perfectionist. I mean, it's like it depends on the situation or the activity. You may be more perfectionist than others, but it depends on the situation. So it's not about playing down or giving like this kind of standard advice, like the same when you are stressed and people tell you just keep calm. I mean, it doesn't work. You have to be more specific. So probably I think that the first thing that they need to be aware about their motivation, why they want to learn English, and if perfectionism is holding them back from getting this result. Once they are aware by themselves, is very important, because they are just being empowered by that. So they are more likely to take action. And probably one of the things that they can do is like priorities. So if you know the motivation and you just want to communicate because you want to socialize, then probably you need to focus on fluency, and probably your accent is not an issue. So if you are kind of a perfectionist, you want to address everything at the same time because you just want the final result, but we need to go step by step. So you need to set priorities. So I think that keeping a journal with the priorities, and first I would write my motivation, then my priorities, and then my achievements. And I will create a roadmap. So I mean, it's fine. I want to speak English like I don't know, like Taylor Swift. That's great. Okay, so you have the role model, but this you have to be aware that there's a roadmap. And why do you want to speak like her first? What for? Because you want to socialize. All right. So we have role model. What is the aim of this learning process? And then you just keep track of the different milestones that you are achieving.
Mm-hmm. I think I will probably add something that you already said at the beginning, which is recognizing that you have a problem,
Yeah,
recognizing that there's a
totally.
situation. Because I think, I'm not too sure, but I think the number one rule of the 12 steps is recognizing that you have a
Mm-hmm.
problem, right? Otherwise,
Totally.
nothing will happen if you're
Mm-hmm.
not asking for help. And,
Totally.
and and once, I suppose that could be the title of that journal, no? I have this problem and I need to do something different. That's why I'm doing this. And
Totally.
I suppose before writing the motivation is setting that intention, and that in that
Yeah.
intention could be, I have this problem and I'm happy to, I'm gonna go through and work through it, and because I have this motivation and I want to get like this. And I guess you got that 3-step bullet points entries on that journal, no?
Totally agree. Yeah.
Cool. All right. But is there anything else you would like to tell us about perfectionism? And would you like to able to tell us perhaps an experience that you have with a student that came to you, you worked with this, and then how he felt afterwards, for example?
Yeah. had a recent experience. Well, in fact, I think that is really common among my students. I don't know if it is because of the Spanish educational system, but even though Spanish, we have this stereotype to be really extrovert people. When it comes to speak English, we are pretty like, self-conscious. And I have a student that she came to me. She had tried several like approaches to learn English, and I think that what was interesting for her was this idea of all or nothing. It was like she was keeping studying English, but she couldn't like take part in the meetings because I think that she was waiting for the right moment to participate. Basically, we said, okay, you have to face as well. It's about acceptance that your English is not as good as you want. But the key thing here is, even though it's not as good as you wish, you could do whatever you want in English. It's just a small shift that changed totally the way that she attended to the meeting. She started to be more comfortable. She said, okay, I'm going to try to participate. And I said, how was it? And she said, well, not as good as I wanted. And I said, I told you so. No, no, no. I mean, it's not a promise. But did you do it? Did people understand you? And she was, yeah. In fact, I got what I wanted. Well, so then your message worked. Yeah, probably you didn't use the tool as you wanted, but the tool worked because you wanted to communicate. So you communicated, it was effective. So it's not something that I told her, it's something that little by little she was experiencing by exposing herself.
Well,
So she realized,
yeah, she took action.
yeah,
You gave
yeah,
her an indication, and she took action. And then
yeah,
on that process, she started to realize she was open to do things in a different way, which is it's an amazing quality to have as a client, to be coachable, to be open to new ideas.
Totally.
Otherwise, you get stuck. That's why they're students and clients come to us, because they're probably maybe frustrated or desperate with what they've tried before. They want to look for something new, and here we are with giving them a new perspective. And if they take action and they follow it, well, there you go. Magic could happen.
Yeah, totally. And people are sometimes so hard on themselves. Like people are really self-demanding, and I mean, it's like we have to remind ourselves what is the purpose of speaking a second language, that is communication. And I think that is really important to understand that. And sometimes we are more scared of thinking about a situation rather than facing it. But you cannot like face a situation without any preparation. That's why this is a process. It's like you are practicing in a safe environment. That's why I mentioned before the environment. And then little by little you expose yourself. It's not like, okay, I haven't spoken English in 5 years, and now you have to do a presentation, 3 hours presentation, no preparation about that whatsoever. No, it's not the idea. The idea is let's prepare it in a comfort zone, and little by little, let's step out of the comfort zone. And always you can come back to this home base every time that you need it. And I think that this is the idea. And they are by experience, like witnessing how they are able to do something that they thought that they couldn't, even though it's not as good as they wanted, but they can do it. That is the good thing, and they can communicate.
The idea of doing things as we want.
Yeah,
this is something that I struggle with, and I catch myself in my own BS. No, like, listen, you just created that story. That's not based on anything. I just create this story because of my ambition and goals and what comparison and blah blah blah. But that's not real. I've just picked that goal or destination randomly. Let's make it real. Let's bring it down to something that it really happens.
Yeah, and sometimes even if you are present with the reality that you are in, sometimes it turns out that it's even better than the plan that you had in your head. For example, I had a plan I have a child, and I had a plan for my upbringing. And I mean, my upbringing is totally different as I planned it, but probably it's better because the thing is that I had to react some things that I didn't expect. And I had to, do things that probably I wasn't prepared to do. So I learned little by little, I learned by doing. And some of the things that I did that probably were mistakes allowed me to be here. So make it even more beautiful that if I hadn't had any mistake, if I hadn't made any mistake. So, I mean, it's like the beauty of the imperfection as well. If you
Mm-hmm.
see what is the most watched tech talk, I think that is Ken Robinson tech talk about education. And if you check all the advice that people give you when you have to give a presentation, probably he doesn't follow any of the advice,
Oh yeah.
any of the tips. Yes, because he like hesitates. Sometimes it's like he doesn't has the perfect tone of voice. It's like he doesn't follow, but it's amazing. It's inspiring. Why? Because of the content, or perhaps because of the imperfections. You can relate to him, the way that he speaks. So it's like more natural, more realistic. It's not like it's not phony. Like you can see like a real person talking about something. He's so passionate that he forgets about himself. He focuses on the message. He's like a medium to convey a message that is more important than him in this case. You can see that. And I think that I tell my clients that don't forget about your message. Don't forget about your message. You are there, in my case, because they are professional, most of them, because they have hired you because of your skills. So English is a way to show your skills. The important thing here is your skills. And you are not going to lose them because you speak English.
Mm-hmm. So if I heard you well, there's not so much about the delivery, but more about the passion and the authenticity that comes with it, not the actual form, and if you're using the right tense, accents and stuff, no?
I would say that both are important, but I would come back to this idea of priority. If you don't believe what you are saying, no matter how you say it, that is not going to sound convincing. That's why I tell them, work with your message. First, for example, entrepreneurs, they want to sell something, and you can see when they really believe that, and they are able to get their message across because they just believe in their project. So no matter how they convey it, different ways, original ways, but they are able to do so. So I think that, of course, you do it better if you have a structure, if you have vocabulary, if you have all the tools. But prior to that, I think that is, try to be like real message.
Mm-hmm. We have a here at Double Academy. We have a bit of a sort of slogan, so that we don't aim at perfection. We aim
Oh, really?
we aim at connection, because I really couldn't care less if you say mi casa es bonito. Oh, okay, but if you tell me with a big smile, you're flow, and you're glowing, and you're happy something happened to you. To my clients, I'm not going to interrupt them to make them the agreement and connection. Continue your. I'm focusing on what you're trying to express and share with me. Of course, if you're doing the writing activity, but that's the moment to look for perfection, or to stop and look at the details. But really and truly, one of my ethos is that. And you said that. It got me thinking. You said, of course, the language is for communication, but to me, it's more for connection. And and you can connect with just one word, just say hola, hello, just you connected, right?
Totally.
I'm trying to make my clients understand that sometimes they don't need to construct these very intricate sentences and try to be very clever. Just bring it back down to the minimum, and feel good about what you have, rather than to make it sound very big,
Yeah, and connection is a great word. I agree with you, and it's related to communication too, because sometimes we think as communication as just delivering, speaking, but also is listening. So that's why connection and communication are related, because in a good communication, you need to listen to the person. You need to understand other people. And I think that is really important. When you learn a second language, is great because sometimes you have more room for listening. And sometimes it's great. I remember I talk a lot, as you can see. And when I migrated to UK, I had this opportunity to practice active listening. It took me a while to create my own sentences. And for me, it was, oh my God, at the beginning I was struggling. I was, oh my God, David, that is. And then I said, okay, accept it, relax, and try to listen other people. And you know what? People enjoyed more with me because I was listening to them. That is why I was like all the time, like I'm doing right now in Spanish, trying to talk a lot and control the conversation. So again, sometimes imperfection, apparently imperfection brings other kind of beauty that you didn't expect before. You just need to be present and see it.
But here we are today at Aula Academy podcast, talking to David Cabezas, David Cabezas. And I was just thinking before coming to the end of the show, if you're talking about perfectionism, what would you consider being the opposite of being a perfectionist?
Wow. I have never thought about
It just came to me. I don't know. I was just wondering, now that I'm talking to you, that you've probably given this more thought.
Well, the opposite. Well, usually the extremes are not really good. So the opposite is that if you don't really care about how you do anything, if you just care about yourself, it's like probably the same kind of mindset. In both extremes, you think too much about yourself and you forget about your message. If you are too perfectionist, you think too much about how to do it in a way that you want it. But if you are not perfectionist at all, it's like you don't care. It's like, okay, I'm going to say what I want to say. And if people don't understand me, that's fine. But that could be the other extreme. It's like forget all the time that you have a listener and they need to understand you in order to have this connection that you mentioned before.
I guess not caring. I think it's a important quality, but it depends because one thing is not caring. So you're not letting your own voice to hold you back, but not caring also might mean not taking into consideration the people that you're with, the person that you're with. So
totally,
if you're just saying whatever, you're being rude. You're saying, well, you're not putting any attention to the form, and you're not listening. Well, there you go. There's no communication, there's no connection, so it will be the other opposite of caring too much, no?
Totally agree.
Oh wow. Well, David, muchas gracias. Thank you very much for coming to the podcast. Thank you for helping us take a little look deeper to perfection and help. Thank you for sharing those tips to work through them. Where could the audience find you online and learn a bit more about you?
I'm on LinkedIn. David Cabezas. Also, I have a website that is LM, Learning Mindfully, Idiomas. Okay, so they can find me there.
Cool. We'll make sure to put the links on the description.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Un placer.
Thanks for listening to The Good Expert. If you're enjoying the podcast, please take a second to like, comment, and leave a review. And if you think someone would enjoy it, feel free to share it and tag them. I'm on a mission to break down language barriers and connect people, and with your support, I can make an even bigger impact. Thanks for being part of this community, and see you on the next show.